Okay guys, it is a Thursday morning. Let me pop open the hood. I've so far put in about 19 or so miles. I pretty much got her all sorted out, I think. She has been starting even under hot conditions, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. I think I did tighten some bolts. I may have just had a vacuum leak, maybe. So on my last drive, actually the drive before, I heard some really loud knocking noise. So my heart sank. I was dejected for about a day because I drove it back gingerly as best as I could, parked it and just never looked at it. I did, however, find out, and it ended up being the cause. I did find out that I'd forgotten, which is not really unrealistic of me, because I am at that age. So let's get out of the way for a sec. So I figured out what the issue was. Is if you take a look, and I torque these guys.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Where when I had her on jack stands, and while I was working on I think it was the O2, I had just hand tightened because I needed to get to the O2 by removing the wheel. I think I just hand tightened well, I know I did, the wheel, and then lowered it and forgot to torque it. So in essence, that was the knocking noise that I heard under D-cell the other day. So drove her since, put in another 5 miles or so, and I didn't hear any knocking. So that was the cause. So I averted a really, really life-changing type situation, because if it was the motor, I probably would have just gave up entirely on maintaining these cars and just going brand new and just selling all, and maybe perhaps going with a GTRS or something to that effect, a Turbo S. So anyway, for this morning, I don't know if I've already mentioned it, but I'm going to go ahead and change how the wastegate is plumbed from what the previous owner had it set up, and I just kind of reverted back to that. But I am going to switch it to, since I don't have a nipple on the turbo housing, I'm just going to place it as close as I can to it, just so that I can get the amount of pressure that I need. So I'm going to get Elliot to put a bung on here for me, an MPT bung. So I'm gonna take this off and go take a ride over to Elliot's shop and get that bung welded. Okay, we are back. Elliot did his magic, and I'll put his information down in the description if you guys are interested. If you guys are local and you want to get some work done, he's the guy to go to. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back. I'm going to use this as my boost source. Currently, right now, the way it's set up from the previous owner, I've just followed it through, is he has a connection to the air inlet and a connection to the intake manifold, of which I'm going to switch, and I'm going to use this as my boost source instead. Configuration that I'm going to use is I'm going to have 2 connections to the wastegate, one from the bottom, one from the top, and instead of using the manifold, using this as the boost source, and leave the inlet a turbo inlet connection alone. And I'm going to use the the Grimspeed electronic boost controller. I'll swap it off from the stock solenoid and be done. So now what we got to do is get her registered and get the tags for it. I'm probably also going to do the same for the BMW, for my son's BMW, because we can get classic tags for these, which do not require emissions, just safety. So she doesn't have anything right now, so I'm kind of rolling the dice when I do take her out to break her in. So don't want to keep doing that because I don't want to be spending money on tickets I shouldn't be paying for. Okay, so I'm back. I got them all registered as classic. I did already register the Beamer recently, so I kind of lost out on that. They don't refund you. So, but at least now all they're gonna need really is just safety inspection as opposed to emissions. So I did drop off and pick up this last piece that I need. Okay, so I tried to put this in. I took out the measuring piece, by the way, because I wanted to make sure that I just wasn't doing this wrong. But the cap is a small diameter than this piece. So I don't really even remember if I had a cap for this when I bought the car. It's been so long. So I think he may have swapped this over to a different stem, because this is the part number for this car. For this piece. So I looked it up online, and it's exactly the part number that I got from the dealership. So I picked up the same piece used from before. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can find that, if that car's still in the junkyard. And what I'll do is I'll just remove the filler neck and swap it over. Hopefully it's the same diameter that goes to the tank, and just use that instead. Otherwise, I don't know why this doesn't fit, unless it just, this is too new, and I don't know. I shouldn't be wasting too much time on this. So, okay guys, I put in maybe about a mile until I started hearing some noise, and she's up because you guys probably guessed it. The exhaust bolts from the downpipe to the mid pipe gotten loose and fell off. Just trying to cool it down so that I'm able to touch it. Just show you guys real quickly. So got really loud, so I knew that was the exhaust. I guess it's just another one of those things that I forgot to torque down. So kids, don't rush and don't get old. Luckily, it didn't completely fall off to a point where if I would have hit a bump and it caught the exhaust, I'd be in deep doo-doo. But anyway, I went back to see if I can, I know the area where I started to hear the noise and some of the hardware dropping, so I went back there just to make sure that I can pick them up, and so that way nobody kicks it into somebody else's windshield and damages somebody else's property. So but I did not see anything, unfortunately. Hopefully it got kicked to the side of the road, and everything's good. So I went ahead and got some, found some new hardware that I had just laying around, and so I used it to tighten her back up, and I'm most likely gonna need to adjust it, but I think I've torqued her enough to a point where the flange on the downpipe was starting to bend, so I didn't want to mess with the weld against that flange and the pipe itself and crack it and cause more problems and an exhaust leak. So I left it as is. So that's hopefully that's good enough and doesn't generate too much of an exhaust leak. So I'm gonna go out again and take her out for a drive. Hopefully I don't hear any more exhaust leak and I'm good to go. You know, for those of you that have been following this build, you guys know full well why I've been sort of gun shy on torquing things, you know, with my own strength. Because I mean, the motor, you know, the shop manual has all the torque values, and some of the things that I just dismissed and without having really to look into what the torque values are. For example, the exhaust, tighten it as much as you can. Because if the bolt breaks, it's a simple pull it out and you're done. Not necessarily, you know, with a cam bolt or anything like that on the long block. So anyway, it's just an excuse, I guess. But hopefully she's good to go now. I'm just gonna go ahead and get all the tools that's underneath the car, take out the jacks, lower it, and we'll go for another run. Well, got caught in a downpour, but I guess this is our first rain in quite a while. So anyway, it's got to get in the garage, but she's going to be soaking wet. Looks like it's clearing up behind us, so I may be able to drive some more. I did get 30 miles so far into this build. Okay, so I took her out again just for some baby pulls. I wanted to kind of seat the motor. You know, there's two schools of thought here: baby it, you know, and or rev it hard to fully seat everything within the motor. So I'm not an engine builder, nor am I well versed in what, you know, how the motor reacts for either or. I just, you know, old school thought, what I grew up in, having done it with DFD when I built the motor on my previous FD, not this particular one. I drove it hard. So it's supposed to be better down the road for a whole bunch of things, mileage to oil consumption to more power, the ability for it to last longer, a whole bunch of things. So, you know, everyone can kind of chime in here if you guys have any experience building engines and how it relates to whether or not you break it in hard or soft. I you know, for me, I just figured, you know, it makes sense to me to run it hard on the onset. I think it's pretty much what the manufacturers do with their cars before that actually even gets into the car, before it's sold to the mass. And I also think that you know, they tell you to baby it, I guess just for liability reasons. I think they just don't want to have to deal with claims because of things breaking. And I mean, I don't know, and that's just my thought. So we'll see. I guess we'll find out when you know, when it's just still wet, when, you know, we get enough mileage on her, and see how she does in the dyno. Anyway, I'm rambling. I just figured I'd just kind of just tell you my thoughts, and if you guys have anything to add, you know, comment down below. I'm more than willing to listen. You know, I'm still learning. I'm an older guy, but my first build, a piston build. I don't know if I told you guys this story, and I think it's well worth telling. And I may have already posted this on another video of when I broke down. But when I first got this, a couple weeks after, I decided to go pay a friend of mine, a husband and wife team, a visit because they're very big on Subarus. They currently have an STI for each other, his and her. They have a Forester that's an STI swapped, a couple Miatas, and basically they're a Subaru family. And I wanted to get his opinion on the Hawkeye I just bought. So I went to visit him at home, had him drive it. But on the way over, I got a little overzealous and, came across a ZL1 that wanted to played a little bit. But unfortunately, and I think this is where I'm at fault because, it's hard to try to remember when switching cars that each and every one of them has its own distinct way of driving them. I drove her like I drove the FD. And as you guys know, FDs, rotaries are known to want to rev really high to get to the power band. And playing with that ZL1, I drove her like she was a 13B, and I think I may have, and it could be a previous issue that I just wasn't aware of because I've only had it for 2 weeks. I believe the car broke down because of oil starvation. Oil pressure was low. It didn't get the proper oil that it needed. And make a long story short, I went to visit Troy. He drove it around. I thought it was a heat shield rattle. So did he. But on the way home, I was on the side of the road because huge knock and killed the power, no compression. I basically was on battery and rolled to the side of the highway. And I'll post a quick video on the end result. Was that I had a bearing failure. The story I'm getting to, and I thought it'd be fitting that I do this because since I got her back on the road. So when I went to visit the Subaru husband and wife team, Amy is a Subaru ambassador. So actually, you know what? Let me pop open because I have it in the trunk. Because when I brought the car over, she gave me a gift bag. I haven't really opened it in over 4 years that I got this welcome bag. I think the fact that she's now back on the road, and I think it's maybe fitting for me to kind of go over this and open up the bag for the very first time. Or should we do it after she's tuned? So I don't know. What do you guys think?